welcome back to the vlog. I have to tell you that it is Sunday evening and I have pretty much failed to film any vlog footage over this weekend. So what I'll do, since I don't have a true holiday, my library is open tomorrow and I am working in the building, is we'll just start the weekly vlog here on Sunday evening. I did get some good reading in, which is very exciting. I have finished Kill Creek, and that was quite a ride. Not necessarily where I would start with anybody interested in reading horror, but definitely something like along the lines of the Cabin in the Woods movie is for horror movies. Like metafiction, a really interesting commentary on what occurs in horror literature, and overall a lot of fun. And I rated it 5 stars just based on that little zing at the end. Was not what I was anticipating. I also started on Friday evening the Sundown Motel by Simone St. James and was able to finish that up just prior to setting up my camera this evening. And I still have to kind of gather my final thoughts on that. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and we'll probably get like a 4.5 stars depending on what those final thoughts happen to be. And I finally started my book club book, which is going to be on Tuesday. It's Sunday. I have the audiobook for Welcome to Nightvale by Joseph Fink and Jeremy Cranor. The audiobook is narrated primarily by the same person who does the Welcome to Nightvale podcast, which is Cecil Baldwin. So I have listened to the podcast before. It's been quite a while, though I do absolutely recognize the voice, and it's sort of a neat reintroduction to Nightvale, the town, and some of its happenings. There is a through line to the novel, which I don't know that I was really anticipating for this particular subject matter, but I am enjoying it so far. I've gotten about a quarter of the way through, and we'll definitely have a little bit more time this evening, as well as time tomorrow and Tuesday to finish this up before the meeting Tuesday evening. I have to determine what I will be reading with my eyeballs moving forward. I'm thinking that I'm going to crack into my advanced copy of Act Your Age Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I have read and enjoyed the other 2 novels, and I have heard from some of the early reviewers that this is their favorite. The cover design has music notes on it, which, as we know, is intriguing for me, and looking to dive in and get those feels back after some of the horror books that I've picked up recently. And I do have a stack of library books sitting in front of my television console, so I'll pick up the next book on the list and let you know what that is when I get to it. So I guess, again, welcome to the vlog, and I hope you have a great start to your week. I'll see you soon. Good morning, it's Monday. I'm just about ready to head out to work, but I wanted to pop in and give you my final thoughts on The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. So I mentioned last night that it would probably get like a 4.5. I think I'm actually going to pull it back a little bit, and the true rating is likely like a 3.5, but I'll round it up and rate it as a 4 on Goodreads. Reason being, I found one of the characters a little bit superfluous. Like, he had a connection to the story, but I don't know that the added element of what his character brought to like the outcome of the book was entirely necessary. And overall, the mix of like mystery thriller and the supernatural element didn't quite work for me. I don't know. It was maybe because I was coming from a horror novel where the supernatural was like truly ingrained in the plot, and not that Sundown Motel wasn't. The main premise of the book, for those who don't know, is that in 1982, a girl has left her home and she was going to like make her way to New York City and wanted to, make it in NYC. Well, she never made it to the city. She just made it to this town where she became the night clerk at the Sundown Motel. And one night she just disappeared and no one has seen her. She's never been found. And so 35 years later, in 2017, this woman's niece wants to find out what happened to her aunt and travels to the same town, winds up sort of almost reflecting the same events. So she becomes the night clerk at the Sundown Motel. Weird things are occurring, and there are supernatural events that are happening. That's not a spoiler. The sort of reflection of events that are recurring is sort of what's eerie in the story, in addition to the ghosty things. The book goes through solving the mystery of what happened to Carly's aunt, and we kind of flip back and forth between the timelines. So the focus of the story was on the mystery, and the supernatural elements, while entertaining, I'm not sure if it added anything aside from like a creep factor. So 3.5 stars. It was enjoyable, but definitely not a perfect book. So on Goodreads that says, well, I guess 4 stars is I really liked it, which I did really like it, but I didn't think that it was amazing. I have not picked up another physical book. Next one on my list is King and the Dragonflies by Callender. It's another middle grade novel, but it does deal with apparently some heavy topics. So once I get into that, I'll be able to give you a nice synopsis and let you know my thoughts. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Hi there, welcome. It is Tuesday afternoon. I am finished work for the day. It's a little bit after 3 o'clock. I got to have a shorter day because I did a little bit of extra work on my previous work from home day. So, yay! I have not updated you thus far because I have been pretty much nonstop since the beginning of the morning. Had a doctor's appointment, then I went right into a Zoom training session, finished up my work, and I also had to finish my book club book for my meeting this evening. That was the audiobook for Welcome to Nightvale by Joseph Fink and Joshua Cranor. This is narrated by the voice of the Welcome to Nightvale podcast, who is Cecil Baldwin. So if you're familiar with the podcast at all, it takes place in the town of Nightvale. The voice of Cecil has a radio program, and he sort of just goes through the strange events that are occurring in the town of Nightvale and news bulletins. So the novel version is very much the same. There's a sort of mystery plot that focuses on characters, Diane, her son Josh, and another person in town whose name is Jackie. So they wind up with notes that are sort of urging them to visit a neighboring city called King City. Strange things are happening there as well, and the mystery needs to be solved. So interspersed with the through line of the story, we hear about some things that are like regular to the podcast, which warns people away from the library and some pink flamingos. So those sort of interstitial points, whether or not they tie into the plot, but it's also nice if you have listened to the podcast, which I have in the past, though not recently, but if you've listened to the podcast and you recognize some of these elements that sort of come up every once in a while, it's sort of neat to see them intertwined with this more through line narrative plot. Since the audiobook is narrated by the same person that does the podcast, it's very familiar. I'm not sure that the long form story was my favorite listening experience, but there are a lot of elements that really work for those who are interested in, who like the podcast, as well as, those who enjoy reading. So I'm still thinking through my rating. Maybe the discussion this evening will help solidify that. In the meantime, I will likely be sitting down and really digging into Callender's King and the Dragonflies. I'm only about 2 chapters into this, so all I really know right now is it is about a young man named Kingston. He goes by King, his brother has unfortunately passed away. So we are sort of viewing the story and how King is dealing with these events, and his belief that his brother has actually transformed into a dragonfly. So he's not really gone. It's a story of grief. It's a story of, like many middle grade novels, and I've said this before, figuring out like where you belong in your own environment. So we're looking at his relationship with his friends, with his family, and I will let you know as I get further in some additional thoughts. I hope you are having a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, here we are at the end of the day. Book club has finished for the evening, and I was able to expand a little bit on my thoughts on Welcome to Nightvale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Cranor. I think that this book is totally fine. One of the comments that I made in the meeting is that a lot of people will read for either plot or character development. And I think there are points in the plot in this novel that have come up within the podcast, and apparently, and I'm not familiar enough with the podcast, but apparently there are recurring characters in addition to Cecil, the news reporter or the radio personality. There are characters within the novel that have previously appeared in the podcast. So we're outside of those elements, there's really not enough plot or character development to have made me care enough about the narrative through line. So it was fine. It's not something that I would seek out the follow-up novels to Welcome to Nightvale, but I would probably revisit the podcast and have a jolly old time. So that's where we are on that. The other item that I finished today, just prior to picking up my phone for this little clip, is Callender's King and the Dragonflies. So this is sold and marketed as a middle grade novel. I think it's really at like the high end of middle grade. It deals with some very deep topics of processing grief and sort of relating to your family and other individuals who are going through a similar grieving period. It also looks at individuality and sort of fitting in with your own environment. Our main character, King, is Black and learning that life is hard. And life is only made harder because of the color of King's skin. And another aspect of his personality, of his identity, may in turn make things harder. There are a lot of things being discussed. I read from Callender just the other week when I read Felix Ever After, and they're very different books. So I'm excited to continue on reading from Callender. I think that they have a lot of really interesting ideas and a beautiful way of portraying those ideas through their writing. Some really beautiful craft in there that I look forward to exploring further. In the meantime, I am now without an audiobook and without a physical book. So tonight I'm going to start Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert, and see how I get on with Eve Brown, the youngest of the Brown sisters. And I'll let you know, hopefully tomorrow morning before I get to the gym. And I'll see you later. Good morning, happy Wednesday. I need to make this really quick, but I wanted to give you a quick update on what I have started. So I did get about 2 chapters into Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third Brown sisters novel and comes out in March of this year. So focuses on the youngest sister, Eve. She is the youngest sister. She hasn't really been held to any sort of responsibility up to this point and has sort of just flitted through different things that have been interesting to her in the moment. And when it gets hard, she bails. So now her parents have cut off her trust fund, would like her to get a job for a year before they restart those payouts. So like her allowance, essentially. And in the second chapter, she meets two gentlemen, one who owns a bed and breakfast hiring a chef. And she's like, well, I know how to bake, so let me go for this. She walks in like soaking wet because it's raining, in a t-shirt and like her hair up in a ponytail from the night before. And, you know, we'll see how that relationship develops. The physical read, the next item on my library checkout pile, which is technically overdue already, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I haven't started this yet. So I will have to let you know when I get a couple of chapters in. I can give you a brief idea. So the audiobook that I'll be starting once I get in the car momentarily is Apple Skin to the Core by Eric Gansworth. This is a memoir written by a Native individual based on his life experience. Obviously, it's a memoir. Apple is a derogatory term for a Native person, red on the outside, white on the inside, and the issues that come from being Native and establishing and holding on to one's cultural roots. I am quite ignorant on this particular subject, so I look forward to hearing the words of a person who identifies as Native and trying to learn from this person's experience. So I'll let you know how I find it as I move forward. I wish you a wonderful Wednesday, since I have work and a meeting, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to update again. Hopefully I will see you sometime soon.
Oh, I just pulled into the parking lot and I realized I forgot my headphones. An important aspect of Apple Skin to the Core by Eric Gansworth is that this is a memoir written in verse. So it seems to be moving at a pretty quick clip. I am looking for a copy of the physical book for me to sort of flip through. It seems like we're sort of focusing on like smaller topics, and then he'll give a couple of verses on his experience or his family's experience, because he is going back to looking at the cultural genocide that has occurred with the Native population of the United States, and the schools, the boarding schools that people of previous generations would be sent to in order to strip them of their cultural rights, their cultural heritage. So that's not the author's experience, though it has occurred to his not so distant relatives. So very interesting so far, even though I only got about 20 minutes, and I won't get to listen until I'm driving home today. But off I go.
Welcome to Thursday. I'm finished working for the day and plan to read for a little while. I'm feeling very conflicted because I mentioned my library book is already overdue, and that's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA mystery. So a lot of high schools in the United States have what's called a capstone project, or like a graduation project. So it's sort of an individual study, a larger project that students need to complete in order to graduate. So our main character, Pip, is completing her capstone project, and she wants to investigate a supposed murder-suicide that occurred 5 years prior. And the premise itself is a little wacky. I have not gotten very far in, but she was told at the beginning of this project, like, don't approach the family members who still live in the town. And she immediately ignores that directive. She's 17 years old, and she's going to solve this, like, open and check case, or attempt to reopen this open and check case, because she doesn't believe that the detectives completed the job properly. So I'll give this another shot. I'm not 100% sure that I'll be continuing on it, to be honest. But I have heard really good things, so I'll let you know. What I'd like to be reading is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. It comes out in March. Haven't done any audiobook listening today because my trip to the laundromat was filled with podcasts. That was a much longer update than I thought that I would provide, since I haven't actually done any reading. Maybe I'll check in later with an actual update.
It's so close to the weekend. It is Friday morning, so I'm closing out the vlog. My only progress from yesterday after work was I did continue through A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I'm about halfway through at this point, so I'll likely finish it out over the weekend, so you can check out my weekend reading vlog whenever that's posted. And I can't say that it's my favorite thing so far, but it is definitely intriguing seeing the different connections that are coming up in Pip's investigation, as it were, and what may actually be occurring in this town, what may be covered up from 5 years ago. So make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see my final thoughts on this book and any others that I have started. If you liked this video, please give it a like and let me know what you are reading in the comments. I'll see you next time. Bye.